Today we're busting one myth for every track in Mario Kart World and diving deep into their mechanics to uncover the truth about how they work. The tires on Mario Bros. Circuit will respawn when they're knocked away. The best shortcut on this track is blocked by a large group of tires. When someone opens it up to people who don't have mushrooms, does it stay open? Confirmed. You'll only have a small window to reach the shortcut before the tires respawn, but it's not just based on a timer. The tires respawned when the player who moved them got far enough away, so they should come back much quicker in a legitimate race. The geysers on Dino Jungle will shoot up items. Geysers give you more airtime than almost anything else in the game, but does the same thing apply to objects? Busted. It was a little hard to see what happened to the shells, but if they flew up in the same way a player did, it would drastically alter its path. And the banana didn't go anywhere either. You could hit some insane snipes if the geysers did have an impact, so I kinda wish they did. The stone guys on desert hills can get taken out by shells. I don't know the official name for them, but stone guys has a nice ring to it. Let's see if they can stand up to one of the most fragile items. Confirmed. This is surprising since they're otherwise really durable. Like if you run into them, they won't care at all. You'd think being made of stone would help them ward off attacks, but pour one out for the stone guys. You can wall ride a bus on Crown City. When you charge jump on a small car, you'll bounce off of it and receive a coin. But some vehicles are too big to have that interaction. Confirmed. This could give you a slight time save in the right conditions, but usually it's not worth doing a whole charge jump before this. It does get you a lot of style points though. A super horn can destroy the big barrels on DK Spaceport. The smaller barrels are fairly easy to take out with shells or most other items. But is the super horn enough to break the larger ones? Confirmed. You can also destroy these with power items like a star, mega mushroom, or bullet bill, but this is a more impressive feat for a super horn, which is usually seen breaking smaller items. The train on Whistlestop Summit will block powerful items. I'm tired of the train blocking my path on the rails, so I'm taking a mega mushroom and bullet bill to show it who's boss. Busted. If you're using these items or a star, the train will politely move out of your way. It's sort of similar to how players can knock each other off a rail depending on their weight or speed. Cheep Cheeps will respawn on Koopa Troopa Beach. When you hit a Cheep Cheep, both of you will get knocked out. But I want to revisit the myth from Mario Bros. Circuit and see if it works on live enemies. Confirmed. There's no respawn animation or anything, it just phases back into reality when you're far enough away. It has the same distance requirement that the tires did. Perhaps it behaves the same way because it stays still, unlike most enemies. The Shy Guy on the flying carpet is tangible in Shy Guy Bazaar. The weird part about this Shy Guy is that he's too high for you to hit unless you're really trying, but with enough effort, you can line up a path to intercept him in midair. Confirmed. He didn't seem to care that I had red shells around me, because all three of them stayed intact while only I got hit. Personally, I think it would have been cooler if you could trick off the Shy Guy instead of taking damage. You can bounce continuously on Wario Stadium's trampoline. The trampoline is located between the big jump at the end of the track. Instead of racing, maybe I just want to bounce around for a bit. Busted. The biggest problem is the boost panel that comes right before it. I'm braking as much as I can, but it takes me too far and high to even get a second bounce. If you bypass the boost panel somehow, it's angled outward so you can't stay on it for too long. You can trick on a cow in Moo Moo Meadows. When you hit a cow from the side, you'll spin out and launch them into the air, but maybe there's a safer way to interact with them. Confirmed. You need some kind of height advantage to land on top of a cow and trick. A precise charge jump would work, but you can also use a rail or the top of a hill. Somehow, this interaction is an important strategy in the world record time trial. The bullet bill will bounce on the clouds in Great Question Block Ruins. It bounced on DK Spaceport's bounce pads in my previous myth-busting video, so let's see if clouds affect it in a similar way. Busted. It goes slightly up when it reaches some of the clouds, but it's more like the bill is choosing to go there instead of the cloud pushing it up. It's part of the bullet bill's natural line, and it doesn't match the bounce a normal player would get. You can boost through a snowball on DK Pass. Boosting usually doesn't save you from getting hit, but I'm optimistic that a softer substance like snow can break with enough force and speed. Busted. This is another scenario where you'll need a power item to break through. These actually become a greater threat when you're boosting, because you have less time to react and swerve away. The Snowflake on Starview Peak lasts as long as a mushroom. There's many different types of boosts in Mario Kart World, so I might make a video ranking them all someday. They're not all created equally. Busted. It's really close, but the mushroom lasts for just a bit longer. I think the only boosts that last longer than a mushroom are draft boosts and rainbow mini turbos. The chocolate chips are tangible in Sky High Sundae. You can use a mushroom to cut across the chocolate ice cream near the beginning, but if the road is as bumpy as it looks, you'll need to plan accordingly. Busted. You go right through the chocolate chips as if they don't exist, so you can safely pass through at the angle you plan. I guess it would be weird for them to knock you off course instead of rewarding you for taking the shortcut. You can cling to the waterfalls on Cheep Cheep Falls. This is another myth I discovered by accident while testing something else. The angle looks too steep, but let's see. Confirmed. It slowly moves you down the waterfall, but not nearly as fast as you'd think. You can clear all of these while driving in reverse. I think it helps that there's a curve on the surface under the water. You can land a banana on a bull in Faraway Oasis. This is completely irrelevant to normal gameplay, but they're the only unique thing I can interact with on this track. So let's do some target practice. Busted. This was pretty difficult to line up. I think one throw bounced off its behind and went farther back, while the other bounced right off its head. There's no flat area on its back, and the banana doesn't seem to like ending up on a slope. But most of all, I think the banana can't end up on a live entity. NPCs can enter Salty Salty Speedway in a versus race. In free roam, you'll see Toads and Yoshis everywhere that you can bounce on, but in most versus races, they're intangible. Confirmed. They'll show up on a boat and give you a ramp to trick off of. Most players don't end up bouncing on the Toads because it's slow, but this is one of only 2 tracks I know of where you can bounce on NPCs. The other is Rainbow Road on lap 2, where some of them are standing close enough to reach before going out of bounds. You can trick after getting hit by a Catquack. Getting launched in the air by one of these looks devastating, and it certainly was in Mario Kart Wii. Maybe we can use Worlds mechanics to our advantage. Confirmed. This saves you from most of the damage. Normally it would be like taking a blue shell, but this way you'll only lose about a second while you're in the air, and you're right back at full speed. The boxes and barrels on Wario Shipyard drop items. When boxes are found on other tracks, they usually don't contain items. Is it any different when they're in the water? Confirmed. So far I've seen them drop a green shell or a mushroom, which can slightly hurt or help the player who breaks them. It makes sense for them to carry items on a shipyard, since ships usually carry boxes that are full of stuff. The dandelions will split when you hit them on dandelion depths. This track doesn't have a lot of unique mechanics, but at least it stays true to its name. Let's run over a bunch of dandelions and see what happens. Confirmed. You can get the same outcome with an item like a green shell. Sometimes it may not split right away, but that's because you have to hit it on the circle part, not the stem. The small dandelions are intangible. The film reels on Boost Cinema will stay spinning in one direction. Toad's Factory has a mechanic that switches the conveyor belts on one of the turns, but they make it really clear with visuals. Boost Cinema doesn't have a clear indication like this. Busted. They'll switch directions after about a minute, so it's likely to change about once per lap. You have to look really closely to spot which way it's spinning in a race, but I would expect it to change each lap. The cones with enemies in them will spin you out on Mario Circuit. I don't know the name of the creature inside the cone, especially while it's covered up. Perhaps this makes them more dangerous than running into a regular cone. Busted. You don't take any damage from running into them, but you may get a bit more of an impact than a regular cone would offer. Honestly, I'm not sure if the creature deserved this. It was just trying to hide in the off-road and mind its own business. Green shells will break the bricks in Toad's Factory. Most of the mechanics in Toad's Factory are pretty cut and dry, so I decided to chuck a green shell at a brick and see what happens. Busted. Your cart will break right through these with barely any resistance, but the green shell bounces right off. In 2D Mario games, it would also bounce off, but at least the brick would be broken in those. Choco Mountain's footballs will hit you after they touch chocolate. The Chargin' Chucks can launch these footballs with such power that they'll knock out anyone they hit in midair. The story might change once it falls into something that slows it down. Confirmed. Even when they're completely still, you'll still get knocked off balance. Stationary footballs don't seem that threatening, until you realize that driving over one in real life could cause an actual car to spin out. Green shells will bounce off of acorns in Acorn Heights. I did plenty of testing on green shell interactions in my previous myth-busting video, so based on that, I would expect the green shell to bounce away without affecting the acorn's trajectory. Busted. The acorn's not satisfied with just shoving the green shell away. It wants complete destruction of any object it touches. The acorn sort of deserves this outcome since it rolls forward in a way that could crush a small object. Peach Stadium has a rail that can only be reached with a feather. Everyone calls this rail the feather cut, thinking that's the only way to reach it, but that might not be the case. Busted. It's not super easy to take the path required for this rail. You have to go far out of your way and miss some of the boost panels on the ground. It doesn't seem worth it just for one slightly tighter turn, so a feather is not the only way to reach it, but it is a way that makes it faster. The bullet bill item will destroy Airship Fortress's bullet bills. As we know, there's very few entities that can disrupt a bullet bill, but anything can be damaged by itself. Confirmed. There's a clear winner here, and the enemy bills barely affect the item bill's movement. I'm not sure if bullet bills have feelings, but being forced to slaughter several of your own kind is pretty gruesome. Sorry, bullet bill, it's all for the sake of science. You can switch paths with a glider in Dry Bones Burnout. Switching between the top and bottom is something you can do almost anywhere on the track, but the glider wants to keep you on a specific path, so it won't be easy. Confirmed. I got this to happen by using Drybones' tooth to propel me down. There's no way you can go from the bottom path to the top without an item though. You can bonk into Bowser's head in Bowser's Castle. I got tired of using the word tangible, so we're going with bonkable for this one. Let's see if Bowser himself counts as an obstacle. Busted. I understand why they made this decision, because it would be a little annoying if you hit his tooth and lost speed, but it's Bowser. He's supposed to mess people up, and I expected more from the Koopa King. I think it would be better if this section required some control to avoid him. The thwomp on Rainbow Road can stop a Bullet Bill. The Bullet Bill item can't even be stopped by its own kind. We'll need something extremely sturdy to stand up to it. Confirmed. Finally, we found something that can stop the Bullet Bill from moving, even for just a second. You would think the Bullet Bill moves sideways to get out of the thwomp's way, but it's too stubborn to admit defeat like that. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more Mario Kart videos, and I'll see you next time.